All right. Hello, everyone. We have a new episode today. On today's episode, I interview a certified nutritionist, coach, a DJ known as Sister Krista, a former bikini bodybuilding competitor, and founder of Living Large Wellness, where she's on a mission to help others achieve real results when it comes to their body, health, and their lifestyle. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Krista Large.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on to just kind of talk about your journey. I met you in Austin, Texas when you were a coach at Onnit, and I got to learn a bit of your story there, and I've followed it ever since. And there's a lot of cool things that I'm excited to talk with you about. And the goal of all these conversations is to uplift, inspire, and empower others. And this first question helps set us up on that path. And that is, Krista Large, what do you love about your world right now?
What I love about my world right now is the amount of freedom and choice that I have and opportunity to make it happen. Being 31, living in Texas, and I just feel like I have the world at my fingertips right now, and I do my best to soak up every little last bit of it.
Beautiful. What brought me to Texas was a course called Go For Your Win. And what I learned from that course was going for your win to me is enjoying the journey, enjoying the process rather than being destination focused, which a lot of people place a lot of attention and energy on. When I get that job, when I get that house, when I get that car, when I get that whatever, that relationship, et cetera, then I'll be happy. And then we get there and then it's always a now what. So to me, going for your win is just really delighting in the process, enjoying the ride, enjoying the journey. What does going for your win mean to you, Krista? And what does that look like in your day to day?
For sure. Two things to come to mind there. I have this huge fear in life of being vanilla, just basically boring, fitting in, dull. I mean, there's flavor there, but not a ton. So it's my journey and part of my brand of living large is to, take that bowl of vanilla ice cream and put sprinkles and gummy bears and all the toppings on it. And that's really about experiencing the most out of life. And that is too staying present in the moment and making sure that it doesn't just pass you by too.
Mm-hmm. So where do you feel this fear came from? This fear of being dull, vanilla, where did that become implanted into your reality?
Yeah, this is something that's only recently surfaced for me. I actually had a period of my life, probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, where I legitimately thought that I was dumb. And I would tell myself that I was dumb, and I had friends tell me that I was dumb, and I was bullied a little bit. And because I was thinking all these things, I would also, manifest certain outcomes into my life, like getting bad test scores. And, my self-confidence was pretty low for the longest time until I realized one day, waking up, that I needed to take responsibility and that I needed to change my thoughts and that I'm not dumb. And so, being vanilla to me kind of correlates with that mindset of a lack that I had. And so, that's why I don't ever want to go back there.
Mm-hmm. So how was that awareness created? Like when did that aha moment when you realized, oh, I'm doing this to myself, I'm placing these self-limiting beliefs that's decreasing kind of my enjoyment of life and experience of life?
Yeah, so I took it pretty far, and I went to college, my grades were okay, but I honestly had a goal to find a husband who was pretty well off and get married. And that was my ticket. And I thought I would have it made once I did that. And I actually ended up getting engaged in college, and I almost dropped out of college at the age of 21 during my senior year. woke up in the middle of the night. I'm not even kidding. It was the first week of school on a Wednesday, and said, oh my God, what am I doing? I packed all my stuff up, got in the car, drove to Mississippi, and I'm on the phone with the registration, like, hey, is it too late to enroll for class? Like, I'm former student here, and yeah, got back to school. The the engagement ended up getting called off. And during the time, my family was pretty upset with me because I'd gone off the rocker, almost dropping out of college. And I, took out a bunch of student loans and said, I don't ever want to ask my parents for money again. I am going to start running and just change my entire life. So that moment was back in college when I decided to re-enroll.
Wow, that's such a beautiful story that I'd love to learn more about. So was that like heart led, brain led, or like where did that knowing come from that pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, it must have been God, intuition, just waking up in the middle of the night. Like I said, I knew something was off, and I knew something was wrong, and I knew that I was unhappy. But like I said, I had low self-confidence at the time. And yeah, just waking up in the middle of the night and kind of freaking out. It was almost like I was watching all of this happen without like being in my body.
Mm-hmm. And what role, like this must have been like, if I put myself in your shoes, like I'd be very like fearful of, okay, if I do this, like what's my life going to be? There's going to be so much unknown. So how did you encounter fear? What did you do when that fear arose, which I'm sure it did at some point in this drastic change?
Yeah, that was the moment I found fitness. So because I didn't want to ask my parents for any money, I had this like trek bike that I used to just like ride to campus because I didn't want to ask for gas money. And I started running. Running. I could barely run a mile at that point. Decided to sign up for a half marathon. And that was really my entry point into fitness.
And then you somewhere along the line, I don't know when this came in, is you got a job working as a fitness trainer at Onnit. So how did you get from point A, leaving this relationship, deciding to build yourself back up from low self-confidence, low self-worth, to a coach at Onnit, and then we'll continue from there?
Yeah, so it started with running. I started running. I love that. And then I had a crush on this boy who did CrossFit, and I wanted him to like me. So I started doing CrossFit too. And one day, I was still in college at this point. I'm sitting outside of an organic chemistry tutoring session, and I'm drinking a protein shake. And my TA comes up to me. It's like, oh, you lift? And we started joking around together. I was like, yeah. He invited me to come lift with him, and he was like, hey, I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but you have a really great frame to do bodybuilding. And I had never really heard much about bodybuilding. I'd seen, posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he showed me pictures of him with his tan, and I was like, oh, whatever, dude. But I mean, I had an extra semester of college I basically had one class left, and I had two part-time jobs. And at that point, I knew that I needed to do something big. So I signed up for that competition, trained my ass off for 20 weeks, lost 20 pounds in the process, like ate nothing but whole foods, and ended up winning my first competition. And just being up on that stage taught me that, if I can get up on stage and get judged for the way my body looks, I can really do anything that I want. So, at that point, I graduate college. Meanwhile, during that time, I did not get matched for a dietetic internship. I was a nutrition student at the time, but the application process and the matching process was so competitive that I didn't get matched. So I wanted nothing more in the world than to become a registered dietitian. But it didn't work out. So I ended up moving to Houston. My family has worked in oil and gas my whole life. I ended up getting a job as a document control specialist at an oil and gas company, and wasn't the most glamorous job, but it was a job. Throughout that time, I started teaching classes at Lakewood Church because I lived right down the street, in nutrition, which was a cool experience. And then I knew that I wanted to move to Austin. I would always drive up to Austin on the weekends, and honestly had trouble making friends in Houston too while I lived there. So I wanted something new. I went online and I found this company called Onnit. And I looked at the website, fell in love with the brand and what it represented, checked the job openings, and what do I find is a opening for a document control specialist. So I applied for the job, started working for the company. They changed my job title on day one to quality assurance. And at my time at Onnit, I got free education, which was such a blessing, free fitness education, and pretty much just started taking every single fitness cert that I could, spending almost every single weekend there. Ended up racking up over 15 while I was there, and loved fitness so much that I decided to move away from the quality assurance and move into this, full-time role as a trainer there.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Onnit is such a premier facility where such great coaches and athletes go to train. So let's talk about some of the learnings. What did you learn as a coach at Onnit, in terms of fitness, but also just working with high performers?
I feel that I was extremely blessed to be entering into such a high level of education, and I didn't even realize it either at the time, to basically get that level of coaching and level of awareness of what's out there. I consider like a basic fitness level like ACE or NASM, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like Onnit is definitely more of like a specialized coaching and education system too. So it shook my world to be able to be in a gym with athletes, celebrities, and just to see everybody move so well. It was a blessing.
Hmm. Beautiful. And of all the trainings you take in there, which ones are some of the ones you most appreciate? I'm sure you appreciate them all, but what were some of the top trainings that you attended there, and why?
Yeah, my favorite one was the barbell certification, simply because I think when most people look at a barbell, you see, your pretty standard lifts like deadlift, squat, bench press. But when you spend an entire 20 hours in a weekend learning about how many different things you can actually do with just basically a straight bar, and how much you can wreck your body with just a straight bar and 45 pounds, it's pretty awesome.
Hmm. So, Krista, what does your fitness routine look like for you today?
Yeah, so I'm training right now with actually somebody that Mr. Sean Powers.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he has me, becoming what I can define on my own as becoming an alpha. And that's doing this, muscle 360 program right now. It's very the basically working every single degree of the muscle. So my bicep day is pretty insane. It's like 7 different supersets. But yeah, I'm in the gym, I would say about 6 days a week, training, weightlifting, and I'm also doing the hard 75 right now too. So all that comes along with that. And my ultimate goal with fitness sounds a little bit vain, but like I said, I want to soak up and do my best at everything. But I would love to be on a cover of a magazine or be some type of swimsuit fitness model.
Fuck yeah, I see that for sure. Keep
Why not go
on.
for the top?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, I see that. I see that. And how amazing that you're training with Sean. He's been a guest on this podcast twice now, and he's such a great guy, such a legit trainer. So what a dynamic duo, the two
Totally.
of you together. You mentioned the hard 75, and that's something you've done a few times now. And you just started this new year, and that's something I'm super excited to talk with you about. So just explain really like what is that hard 75 and what has that looked like for you so far? But that's just another one of the badass things that you are doing as you continue to elevate and raise the bar for yourself and what is possible.
Totally. Thank you. So the hard 75, for anybody who doesn't know, it basically consists of 6 different disciplines. Discipline number 1 is that you must drink a gallon of water every day. Discipline number 2 is that you must work out twice a day for 45 minutes each, but one has to be outside. Discipline number 3 is that you must read a non-fiction, growth-oriented book, just 10 pages per day. Discipline number 4 is that you must take a progress picture of your body every single day. Discipline number 5 is that you pick a diet or commit to some sort of dietary commitment and follow it. And then number 6 is not drinking alcohol.
Mm-hmm. This is so awesome. So I want to go through each one and we'll kind of discuss each one, what you've learned from that challenge. So what is the first one again?
Drink a gallon of water.
Sure. So why is that important? And like, talk to about what you've learned from that and what you know about that and how you advise your clients on that.
Sure. So, well, number 1, I live in Texas, so it can get pretty hot here. And especially when you are working out twice per day, drinking a gallon of water is actually pretty easy. On the other hand, if you're not drinking enough water, likely you are dehydrated and you're not able to detox your body in the way that it needs to get rid of all the chemicals and pesticides and whatever else you got going on in your body. So super important. We're 70% water. It's important that we're getting enough in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned detox. Like drinking water is a great way of detoxing, as is sweating, which you do with your physical activity. What are some other ways you like to detox?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that's it.
The 3 ways that our body detoxes is poop, pee, and perspiration. So, obviously making sure that we're doing all 3 of those daily is going to be the best way. My favorite form of detoxing is infrared sauna. Getting in there 45 minutes at a time, 2 to 3 times a week. Nothing feels better.
Yeah, it feels great. Or like a hot yoga class for me, like a yin yoga, restorative yoga. Oh, that's perfect. So, number 1, drink a gallon of water.
Number 2, and I may botch the order a little bit, but that
okay.
is reading 10 pages of a book, a nonfiction book every day.
So what are you reading, and what are some of the most influential books that have guided you on your journey that you just like to shout out, and what did you learn from them that you incorporate into your coaching and into your being now?
Sure. So this one, especially having the old narrative that I was, dumb and not a good learner, not a good student. This was challenging for me at first. I was a little bit slower when I started reading, but having that discipline and doing it every day, I can say now that I breeze through books and I love learning and I love reading. So for anybody out there that's listening and thinks that they'd rather listen to audiobooks or that they're a bad reader, they can't focus, it's really about getting those reps in, just like anything else, but you can become a great reader. So one book that I'm actually learning right now, which I think you would love reading right now, is called Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. And it's all about how to tell better, impactful stories in your life. I'm loving that one right now.
Storyworthy. I've never heard of that. I'll check that out. By Matthew Waller?
Matthew Dix.
Matthew Dix. Okay. Great. Any other books that have really inspired you on your path that you can think of, some of your favorite books that you recommend to friends or clients?
Totally. So one book that completely changed even my coaching practice now is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and then also the book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg.
Okay. Tell us a bit about what you learned. What were the main takeaways from Atomic Habits and then the one by BJ Fogg?
Yeah. So similar to what you said earlier, how sometimes we focus so much on like when I get there or like what the end of the journey looks like. In the coaching world, that can be described as like an outcome. Well, generally we can't control the outcome of what happens, but what we can control is our behaviors and what we do. And, behaviors can also be interchanged with habits and also actions. So if we're really maximizing what we're doing, we don't even have to really necessarily focus on the outcome. So with tiny habits in particular, he has this powerful message in the beginning, and he says, you can do anything that you want to do. It's just about having the right design and the right setup. So that one's been empowering for me in my coaching practice. And for anybody else listening who's a coach and working with people one-on-one, read that book. It will change the way you operate.
Tiny habits.
Tiny habits. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so drink a gallon of water, read 10 minutes of a book or inspiring book, I believe, right?
10 pages.
Number 10 pages. Number 3. What's number 3?
Yeah, work out twice a day. One has to be outside, each for 45 minutes.
Okay, and we already kind of talked about your workout. You've been working out with Sean. So, and like that's great. We keep it at that. Number 4.
Number 4 is taking a picture every day of your body. This one is the most annoying one, but it's all often. So this is my 4th time doing the Hard 75 challenge, and I've only successfully completed it once. Both times that I failed, I forgot to take a picture. So it's oftentimes the most forgotten one at the end of the day if you just don't remember to do it. But the purpose behind it is that, when you see change, and when you're tracking change, especially with health and fitness and watching what you eat, like things just don't happen overnight. So when you're able to have progress and see progress, that's really the key to staying motivated, in my opinion. When we see results and we know that what we're doing is actually making a difference, that is what keeps us going.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And taking pictures, I think it may trigger stuff in certain people. And that's in terms of body image. And as a figure competitor where you were judged on the way your body looked, and as a female fitness trainer, that's just a part of the world. So what have you learned about like body acceptance, just by these pictures and just by your growth in fitness and just learning about the body image?
Yeah, sure. So something that I like to say is, you're not the way your body looks. You're not the number on the scale. You're not your body fat percentage. They're simply just curbs on the road of where you're going. They help you stay on the right path, and you can use them as tools to see if you're, bumping out of range, or if you're on the direct path that you're going. So looking at it objectively, like a science experiment, if you will, that having that sort of eye and that kind of curiosity kind of just separates you from the emotion from it, is what I've learned.
Mm-hmm. And you work with like a lot of female clients, and how do you advise them on just judging beauty standards? Because like there's a image in like the media that like a fit woman should look like this. What are your thoughts? What does a fit woman look like to you? What does a beautiful woman look like to you?
One thing that I like to do when I'm first working with someone and we're having our very first session is get them absolutely clear on what they want. And so, sure, we'll talk about, what they want their body to look like, but it really comes from this inner feeling and this inner emotion. So one thing that I'll have them do is I'll have them in their mind go to a different place in time, generally forward, to when they just absolutely know that their health is in alignment. And we describe basically every little detail about that. And sometimes it's not about the way that you look, it's about that inner confidence that you have. It's about, the activities that you're doing in your daily life, whether that's, hiking 14ers in Colorado, or that's just simply running in a sports bra. So basically allowing each person to paint that picture of what that looks like for them. And it really just takes away from, the general biometric data like body fat and tape measurements and stuff like that.
Right on. So number 4, take a picture of yourself every day. And this is where you stumbled, and you're still on track for your 75 right now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so number 5, what is number 5? So we have the water, we have the picture, we have the reading, the fitness.
Pick a diet and follow it.
Talk about that. What have you learned about diet? Someone that's so passionate about wellness and fitness, like yourself, undoubtedly has spent her time researching what is the best diet for you over the years. And so far, what have you learned?
I've learned that it goes so deep. It goes way deeper than I ever thought. Since, I've been learning about nutrition for the past 13 years, and I've done various different types of testing on my body. For example, DNA testing. Like they have certain vitamins and nutrients and things that we can see based on our DNA that can tell us how our body processes saturated fat and caffeine and melatonin and stuff like this. But you can also look in the realm of, what is happening in our gut too. A lot of people out there have dysbiosis in their gut and they're asymptomatic and they're not aware that, maybe they have this bug that they contracted through water that's messing with their protein absorption, or maybe they have like or hormonal imbalance due to some environmental toxin that they're using. So, that can go really deep with the testing, but, just in general too, I mean, the human body can survive on a lot of different diets. Throughout my lifetime, I was a raw vegan for an entire year, and I once ate 172 bananas an entire week. And I felt great, but right now I'm not eating any vegetables, and that's pretty cool too. So it's ever evolving and it's pretty fun to play with, but I would say as like a general consensus, if it was alive at one point, it's probably safer to eat.
Beautiful. It's this very, very interesting how you explain that. Like you're treating your nutrition as like an experiment, and you're trying all these different diets, just learning all along the way. Along the way, what would be the foundations that you've discovered? Let's say the top 3 foundations that you'd recommend to clients. You mentioned one. Make sure that if it's alive, if it lived before, that's a good direction. What are another 2?
Yeah, sure. So number 2 is always eat foods you like. Life's too short. Like if you don't want to eat celery, don't freaking eat celery. So number 1, make sure you eat foods that you like. Number 2, eat based on your digestion. So it'll be pretty obvious if you eat something and you feel tired after, you feel bloated or gassy or what have you. So eat based on your digestion. Eat foods that support your goals too. So whether that is a short-term goal to, test your one rep max for deadlift, or, to live to 104. And then just one more for you, is to basically have foods that you can eat moderately and sanely. So if you know that you're going to go ham on a jar of peanut butter, it's probably better that you don't keep that kind of stuff around if you're going to feel guilty and shameful after.
So on your diet right now, you're not eating vegetables. What's your favorite thing to eat right now? What are some of your favorite things that you're eating?
Yeah, I right now am eating a lot of fish. So like mahi is really delicious. I love a grass-fed ribeye, chicken sausage. Keeping it pretty simple. I have a ton of fruit right now, which is really fun. Bananas, apples, honey.
Yeah. A question that I'm interested in hearing from you, since you used to work at Onnit and like you have tons of supplements, and you as an employee used to have access to those. What does your supplement intake look like now that you don't have this like abundant supplements at your disposal? Like, and how important do you think supplements are in a diet?
Totally. The way that I like to look at supplementation is goal-based. So before you really do any sort of supplementation, you want to ask yourself, what is the goal? Like, what am I trying to achieve here? So currently, I have been dealing with some gut problems. I had some dysbiosis earlier this year. And so I'm working on, killing some bugs in my body and expelling those. So I'm taking a lot right now to get rid of that. But, always, in short, just always have a goal in mind when you're taking something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Gut health is something I'm super interested in learning more about and trying to gain more knowledge of. So let's share some of the knowledge you've learned rebuilding your gut biome.
Yeah, totally. Step number one, if you think that there might be something going on in your body, whether or not you have digestive issues at all, the number one place to start is to get a stool test done. And I recommend the stool test called the GI map. It's not a fun process, but it is like looking at a window, like through a window into your health. It's going to tell you exactly, how your digestion is. It's going to tell you if you have any parasites, if you have any worms, if you have any opportunistic bacteria, what your normal flora looks like, if you have any leaky gut, if you have any sort of gluten intolerance, what your immune system's doing. So it's super cool to look at. So I'd recommend starting there, testing instead of guessing, because a lot of times when we start taking, probiotics or antibiotics, we could actually make our problems worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even really know. I kind of heard about that testing, but don't know much about it. Like, is that something you do online or you go to the doctors? Like, where, like,
Yeah, so you would want to work with somebody who's, certified and eligible to basically order the test and be able to help you out with a supplement protocol too. It's
yeah,
something that I've been recently dabbling into, and I have a partner that I work with that helps me not only interpret the labs, but also helps me formulate a specific plan, and then I'll introduce the dietary changes that a person would need to feel better.
right on. So let's go on to the sixth and final item of the daily task on that hard 75.
Yeah, that's avoiding alcohol for 75 days.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Why? What is the issue with alcohol? What is and then what has your relationship with alcohol looked like in the past, and what does it look like today moving forward?
Sure, yeah. So with the alcohol, I mean, especially when you're trying to reach body goals, my kind of theory on it is it's not exactly helping. For some people, it hurts a little more, it hurts a little less, but it's not exactly helping you achieve your goals. There are a lot of fun things about alcohol, but at the end of the day, it really is poisonous to our body. So I try and look at it like that. I've had ups and downs with alcohol. I'm kind of actually, even this moment in my life, when I imagine when I've made it in life, I actually have a margarita in my hand, which is interesting to think about. But yeah, it's in and out for me. It's something that it's a low vibration drug in my opinion, but used responsibly, it can be enhancing.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't use much alcohol, and I definitely see what you say. It's a low vibration drug, but you can have fun, like that like you said, that martini in a chair. Like I still enjoy alcohol, and in its time and place and with balance, I think it can be great. Um, in Canada, cannabis is legalized. So a lot of people are moving from alcohol to cannabis, which I believe has a lot more benefits than alcohol. Although, like anything, it can be abused, but anything can be abused. Eating, like a
Really?
lot of people in North America, eating, social media, TV, workalism, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anything can be abused.
Yeah.
But yeah, cannabis is here legal, and I much prefer that myself, especially CBD in terms of my inflammation and just reducing nerves. What is your experience with cannabis and other plant medicines? Because I know that is like big in the circle that you are a part of. and in the wellness field. And this more and more information is coming out about the benefits of psychedelics such as psilocybin mushroom, ayahuasca, DMT, all ones that I've experienced and have benefited myself. So what is your experience in this field?
This is wild that we're having this conversation, because tonight, once I get off this podcast, I'm checking into an Airbnb and I'm going to do my first MDMA assisted therapy tomorrow.
Yeah.
So personally, that's been my favorite form of, drug to take. I've never had a bad time on it, but I've never used it in a therapeutic way. I've really taken it at raves and just to have a good night. But tomorrow, yeah, I'm gonna, use it as like a truth serum and a powerful release. I don't really know what's gonna happen, but looking forward to using that.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for you. That's going to be an incredible experience. For those not familiar with what that is, an MDMA psycho-assisted therapy session, can you just kind of let the listeners know
Yeah.
on what you can expect tomorrow?
Yeah. So MDMA has many different street names. Some may call it Molly. I'm not going to call it that simply because I'm not taking it from some dude with a backpack at a rave. But, MDMA, it's been used in a lot of different settings, like for soldiers with PTSD, and there's been a lot of clinical trials. So we're going to use a very safe and clean form tomorrow. I was expecting, like, I rented this cool place with like the fuzzy rug and it's all bohemian and it's by the lake, and was expecting to, roam around. But my therapist is actually telling me, no, we're going to be inside mostly. You're going to have eye shades on and we're going to go really inward. There's going to be an altar and I'm there to guide you with music and reminding you of your intention. So I'm going to drop in tomorrow at 10 a.m. and expecting to go on till about 4 p.m. So it's about a 6-hour journey.
Wow, that's so amazing. We'll have to have you on, like, I don't know, and like later on to discuss like all the downloads you get from this, because that's going to be super exciting to see what you learn and then how you incorporate that into your being, into your coaching. And no, that's super awesome. I'm excited for you. So we've now discussed all 6 elements of the Hard 75. What have you learned from undertaking it this time and in the past? Why do you keep on coming back to this practice?
Yeah. Just going back to the habits, which essentially is what the Hard 75 is. We can make it out to be a bigger deal than it really is, but at the end of the day, you're executing and you're taking action in so many different areas of your life. And when we put that much focus and we're working on so many things at once, it just compounds like interest. So I choose to do it every year at the beginning of the year because it's a little bit more quiet in Austin. There's a little less going on, but yeah, it's really the time to feel super clear, super disciplined, to spend my time working on things that I have the time for. I feel like when I'm doing the Hard 75, I'm learning, but I'm also, because I'm so disciplined, I also feel more confident to be able to take on other things, because I know that I'm a scheduled, regimented person. I can handle this or I can't handle this. So it's really cool to be able to, have this as a foundation and also welcome in new opportunities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And of these new habits, what is like the primary one that you're trying to make a regular for yourself? Like, what is the habit you're most working on right now, and why is it important?
Yeah, what's wild is even when I'm not doing the Hard 75, I'm still doing the Hard 75. Mine is taking the picture because it's kind of annoying, especially as a female. Like, dudes kind of have it easy. They can just take off their shirt and snap a pic, but it's a little more complicated for females. But it's really when you are that focused on implementing things, especially for 2.5 months, those habits stick and they're really hard to break.
One thing that comes up time and time again, and author Stephen Pressfield calls it resistance, and that's that negative force in that world that keeps us from fulfilling our dreams. It's that voice in our head that says, "No, don't." Like you could stay in bed another 10 minutes more, or you could just skip out. You could skip the workout today, or oh, you don't need to do that second workout. You worked hard this morning, um, or whatever that voice may sound like for you. But what do you deal with that resistance? Yeah, first, what does that look like for you, and how do you deal with it? How do you deal with that resistance that makes you not want to step into the unknown, not want to push yourself to become more?
Mm. Something that's coming to mind right now that's a little bit more of my story personally. So at one point in my life, I suffered with binge eating disorder. And I was, coming home from work, eating, like 2,000 calories in a meal, stress eating. I had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks at the time. And I let this go on for about a year and a half until I realized that the way that I was taught to change it is that, I had this little voice in my head, and it's actually in all of our brains. It's our lizard brain. And this part of our brain is the oldest historic part of our brain that only cares about killing things, having sex, and eating. So for me, where I've seen this voice come up for me is I kept having this little voice that's saying like, oh, you can eat that. Like, oh, I'm not full. Like, yeah, sure, you can have that, or whatever it was telling me to do, like one more bite, one more meal. Like, and so once I learned to shut that voice up, that's actually when I stopped binge eating. And there's a
Hmm.
whole book on it too called Never Binge Again that I recommend to anybody struggling with binge eating disorder. But that little voice in my head, I feel like, if it only cares about having sex, killing things, and eating, it could also be, applied to other things. Like maybe I don't want to do something. I'm able to like compartmentalize that, shut it up, and do the thing that I said I was going to do.
Mm. How did you learn how to like shut that voice up and just let it pass on by? Like what skills did you like? How did you do that? Like how do you recommend doing that?
Yeah. So with the binge eating in particular,
No, just with the just voices in general, just kind of those like thoughts that are holding you back. Um,
yeah. So this is kind of funny, actually. My friend has this candle and it has a picture of Jesus on it. And it says, I light this candle with the intention of doing what I said I was going to do instead of being a little bitch. so, so I just think about like in those moments where maybe I don't want to go to the gym, what's the alternative? Either I do what I said I was going to do, or that little voice, that inner bitch wins.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So another really exciting thing that you embarked upon that I like to talk about is pursuing your passion for music as DJ Sister Krista. Tell me about that. How did this come into manifestation?
Yeah, I've loved house music since I was 17 years old. And if you're not familiar with house music, it's a form of electronic music, really popular for like, loops, and it's played in a lot of clubs. It's so fun. I love the music because it's really about pure joy. I dance every time I hear it. It's uplifting. They talk about love and unity and having fun. So that's why I love it. I have listened to it my entire life. And in 2020, I was working with one of my nutrition clients who I found out was a really badass DJ in Austin for 25 years. And, one day we started becoming friends after we were done working together, and he DJ'd a party for us. And I actually have a list of 100 goals that I want to accomplish in my life. And one of them was DJ a party. And so remembering that goal in my mind, I walked up to him and asked him if he would teach me. And he taught me, and I decided, okay, if I'm going to actually get good at this, I need to invest all the money in the equipment. And as soon as I started, paying for it, I was like, okay, I really got to learn this. And being a woman DJ is really rad because it's traditionally a very male dominated hobby. So right off the bat, I just started getting opportunities to play for free. My first money ever made with for DJing was a Corona seltzer at these like lake parties that we would have. But yeah, it's been a really fulfilling, successful side hustle for me ever since.
Beautiful. Congratulations. That's so
Thank
awesome.
you.
So what role did fear play in this? Like, did fear ever arise in you becoming a DJ? Like from just that onset of you saying, yeah, just admitting to someone, yeah, I want to do this, and then to playing your first free show and then paying your first paid show and then promoting yourself. Just where did fear come into this, and what did you do with it?
Yeah, I can nail this down to a single moment. It was when I was learning, my friend was teaching me. I had one hand in my pocket and I wasn't moving my body. And I was just so awkward. And like, you look at this, CDJs, and there's so many knobs and buttons. It's really overwhelming. And he was like, hey, move your body, feel the beat, feel the beat. And it was just about like moving and like feeling it and being more in flow with it rather than like taking it on. And so once I started doing that, it started just like loosening up and enjoying the process of learning and playing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what have you learned from stepping into like the DJ world, becoming a DJ, Sister Krista? What have you learned from that realm that you've brought into your realm as a coach and in fitness?
You can really do anything that you want to be able to do. Is if you put your mind to it and you are resourceful, you can find the people that will help you learn.
Absolutely. And a killer playlist for your classes now, I'm sure, even more so.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk about some of those people that have helped you learn, the mentors and helpers. You've mentioned a few through this conversation, but who are some of your key teachers and key mentors that have really influenced you on your path, Krista? And what were the things from them that you learned most, that you've incorporated into your being as a human, as a coach, etc.?
Totally. So I'm going to first start with my mother. My mother had me at 16 years old, and I watched her, instead of having this like tragic, call it what you want to call it, 16 and pregnant story, I watched her really step up to the plate and, take care of me and find her own career and make her own money. So that was really cool to be around such a powerful woman. Number two, my organic chemistry TA for, scooping me up. He was able to train with me every single morning for 20 weeks straight at 6 a.m. Really taught me everything, like initially about weightlifting, and I transformed a lot throughout that process. My boyfriend, Eric Anderson, for encouraging me to be an entrepreneur when I didn't think it was possible. He's been doing it for a while, so it was cool to say, okay, if he can do this, I can do this. I would say the Onnit Academy for teaching me a lot about what I know with, fitness, education, how to do things, how to work with clients. Precision Nutrition was the certification that I went through. I hands down recommend that. It's so affordable and so digestible, even for somebody who has no like prior knowledge of nutrition. That was really cool. And my own intuition, allowing that to be. Yeah, thank you.
No one's ever said that before, and I love that answer. My own intuition, crediting, giving yourself that pat on the back because you sure deserve it.
Sure.
So you mentioned becoming an entrepreneur, and that's what you have become with your brand, Live in Large Wellness. So share about what that is. What are you doing with your new brand that you've created for yourself, that you've paved the way for?
Yeah, totally. I've been a nutritionist for just a little over 2 years at this point, even though I've been studying it for a long time. And I love working with people one-on-one. I typically work with people on a 90-day basis. I found that that's just enough time to give them the right amount of education and the right amount of consistency, and to see a good amount of change too. Yeah, specializing in habit change and implementation, and helping them basically define what it means to live large on their own terms and what they want to do. Because it's not, I mean, sure, it's about the body and it's about the health, but it's really about what you can do with that body and what you can do with that health, and what that foundation allows you to do in your life. So that's really the stuff that I love doing, is opening their eyes. Like, yeah, sure, it's about the food, it's about the fitness, but it's about so much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. What does living large mean to you, Krista?
Yeah, living large to me goes back to, that, like, not being vanilla, and really getting the most experiences out of life. As I mentioned, I have a list of 100 goals that I want to accomplish in my life.
Yeah.
I actually have about 68 written down, with, I have some life to live, hopefully. But to me, I mean, whenever I feel lost and I'm feeling uninspired, I go and reference that list, and I'm like, okay, like, I can tackle this next. And some of these goals are very weird and easy. Like, I want to roller skate around a city one day, or I want to squash wine grapes with my feet, or learn to saber champagne. And then some of them are a little bit more serious too.
Yeah,
So
and one is be on a podcast, which we're checking off right now together.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So let's just go over some of, like, well, first, what inspired this 100 list,
Yeah.
and then what have been some of your highlights that you've accomplished, and then what are a few that you look forward to that are on the cusp of reality?
Sure. So I wish I could say that this idea was originally my own, but it's by a guy, I believe his name is Sebastian. He wrote a book called 100 Things. And his whole thing was that, he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do for the rest of his life from, like, a career standpoint, but at least he knew that he could, like, wanted to do this thing and that thing and that thing. And it came into my life at a time where I was feeling pretty uninspired, and I was faced with, like, multiple career changes. I didn't, I was a little bit lost. And so I started sitting down and writing out this list. And I encourage everybody to do it. It's really a fun thing that people talk about, having a bucket list, but who actually takes the time to write these things down? So, some of the things that are on my list that I've done, I rode in a hot air balloon. That was pretty rad to do. One thing that I'm looking forward to doing is hiking a 14er in Colorado. I would love to be on a magazine cover too. That would be pretty cool. I would love to have them all written down. This is why it's so important to write them down. One of them is to own a piece of property in a foreign country.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see these all coming true. So patience, and they will be here sooner than you know, I'm sure.
Thank you.
The final three questions I like to ask every guest is now, and these are all some pretty hard hitting questions that I'm very excited to hear your input on. You shared so many great things so far, and it's been a real pleasure to learn more about your hero's journey and what got you to the amazing coach and human that you are today. And the first question is, throughout all of the highs and lows that is this journey of life, what has been the greatest life lesson that you've learned on your path that you feel called to share with us right here and now?
When you realize that you can take complete control of the thoughts you think, you can change your world. And, going back to when I thought I was dumb, it wasn't only that, it trickled down into so many other things. So being able to, change your beliefs and change your thoughts is the most empowering thing you can do.
Oh, heck yeah. I believe that so much. Thoughts become things. And it's also a feeling is a very big part of it as well. Thinking it and feeling it. And then we are truly able to change the realities we create, that we live, that we experience. Thank you so much for sharing that. The next question. In 3 words, they can be separate or a phrase. How would you describe the experience you're having on this earth?
Fun, flowy, youthful.
Fun, flowy, and youthful.
Yes.
Great. For the final question, I'm going to play around with time. And we've visited your past a lot, and we're going to fast forward into the future, and we're going to be alongside a less youthful in appearance, at least, Krista Large. She's going to be an 85-year-old. We're going to be alongside the 85-year-old Krista. Who is she? Where is she? What is she doing? And what is the legacy that she's left on her time here on Earth?
What a question. She is living in a different country where they speak Spanish. She's surfing every day. She's riding her bike. She's cooking for her friends. She's drinking a margarita out on her hammock, looking back and realizing that she had fulfilled her mission to be an inspiration to people, to tell them that to never give up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I want to stay with this 85-year-old Krista for one moment longer. I want you to feel this 85-year-old Krista in your heart. And I'm going to bring us back to the present, the current moment. And that 85-year-old Krista joins us. She whispers a message in your ear. What does she share with you?
Don't take your youth and life for granted.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Few of many shared today. So I'm really grateful for all the wisdom you shared with me and everyone that will be listening to this conversation. And no doubt people will be inspired. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure to reconnect and hear your story. For people wanting to work with you or further connect, you have a website, livinglargewellness.com. You're also on Instagram at Large Krista, or if they want to find all about your music, Sister Krista XOXO.
Yes. I have a Mixcloud too.
Mixcloud, yeah. So anywhere else I can send them, how can people find?
Yeah, I mean, those are the 2 main ones. If people want to listen to my music, it's I have a Mixcloud account, and you can find me under Sister Krista XOXO.
Amazing. Well, it's been a real pleasure. To close every conversation, we bring our fist in for a digital fist bump, a union in the winner circle, a choice that we can all make. Thank you so much.
Thank you.